Hi everybody, Dana Booth here with Educate to Earn and Fftis Financial. Welcome to Fastrack to Inspired Speaking Part 5, Speaking to Inspire Action. Let's get started. Today we're going to cover a review of where we've gone. As I've always said, it's important to re-emphasize points without sounding too repetitive. We want to repeat really important bullet points in presentations and go over them because it's been proven that people have to see things about 3 times in order to really grasp them. We're going to talk about enjoying your talk, which is always something you should do. You should always be having fun when you're speaking. I'm enjoying this talk right now because what I'm doing is hoping to inspire you and propel you forward along the continuum of being an inspired speaker. And then accepting the applause. It sounds a little funny to actually practice accepting the applause. Most of you would be thinking, if I could just get used to speaking in public, I would welcome the applause. But accepting the applause is done in a stylish and artful way too. So we'll talk about that. And then probably the most important thing you can learn when you're becoming an inspired speaker is how to practice. Just what are the best things to do for me to move me down, again, that continuum of becoming an inspired speaker. Again, to revisit and review is a technique we use in class to accentuate a point and embed it in the student's brain. Hearing something for the first time sometimes has no effect on the student, and when they hear it again, their brain is ready to accept that thought. So let's revisit and review some points. Number 1 is speak to those who will listen, and that sounds a little funny because really when you're starting out you want to speak to anybody that will listen, but you want to speak to those who are willing to listen. And what I mean by that is the goal is to speak to those who are attracted to our message, not to convince or sell our ideas to the skeptics. I'll tell you a quick story about sales. The other day I got a call from a lady in a webinar company, and it was a number that looked like a Texas number, so I thought it might be someone from our Austin branch who needed me, and I answered the phone. Well, I was just about to go into a meeting, and she said, well, I'm calling because I'm with this company, this webinar company, and I'm inviting you to lunch. Well, when I'm ready to go to a meeting, it's not the time I really want to talk about lunch, and lunch isn't something that generally appeals to me from someone I don't know. So I said, well, listen, I'm just about ready to go to a meeting. Can we talk about this later? And she said, well, what time? Say 3 o'clock, or would 4 be better? So she gave me the either or close. And I said, well, actually, what's this about? She said, we want to invite you to lunch and we want to talk about our seminar software. Now, here's the thing. If there's anybody that needs to understand how to do a webinar artfully, successfully, having a software that's maybe easy to use and simple and user-friendly, it's me. So in other words, I need what she has to sell, but we're not connecting. And I replied to her, I'm probably not interested. I gotta go. Now, here's the thing. Had she started out the conversation with, hi, my name is so-and-so, and if you're the kind of person that gives webinars and is always trying to give the best webinar, have the most user-friendly software, make it simple, and, by the way, deliver a spectacular message, then do I have something you might be interested in? Had she started the conversation that way, I absolutely would have been interested. In fact, I would have canceled my appointment to talk to her. And this is kind of what we go through as loan originators when we're trying to tell people how much we can help them, realtors, how we have what they need. And we do. And we really do. But they don't perceive that we do. So how do you get around that? Again, we've got to start with the why. We've got to start with our purpose. If our purpose is to inspire them, let's inspire them. And when they're inspired, we can say, listen, I see that you talk about the fact that you're not a good planner. Well, I might be able to help you with some planning ideas, and so forth. So, speaking to those who will listen, it's the same thing. I wasn't willing to listen to this lady's message on the phone. I wasn't attracted to it, even though it was something I vitally needed. So it starts with the way we advertise our event. The way she advertised her phone call wasn't appealing to me, and it killed the whole transaction. Some of the ways you can advertise an event is to put in the subject line, if you're sending out an email, put in the subject line something inspiring. We just had a loan officer send out an email for win the listing before the appointment, and it said, get more listings. That's all it said. And she got quite a good response with that. Again, if you start out your email and you say, free CE class, how to win the listing, it's gonna have the same effect that the lady with the webinar company had on me. They're just going to find a way to evade it because they don't perceive that we have a solution or can help them with our what. That's why we have to start with why. Again, if you're the kind of realtor that really wants more listings, then you can't afford to miss our seminar. Set expectations in an inspiring way. Some of you might be a little nervous about setting expectations. How can I really help someone when I'm barely able to speak on a public level? And so we have to say, we're going to give you 2 or 3 tips and tricks that'll make you better at what you do. Again, that still might not hit their need. It's again selling what and not why. So we have to set expectations in an inspiring way. And sometimes what I do is interact with a crowd at the very beginning of the talk so I can actually get their expectations. I can actually understand. So one of the things you'll see me do is say, now, I'm interested in why you came to the class. So tell me the reasons that you decided to come to this class. Was it that you needed 3 hours of CE? Was it that the title was inspiring? Is it some material that you need? And if so, tell me how you need it. And then you get the feedback. Then you can set expectations in an inspiring way. And bigger crowds for this reason may not be better, although it's a numbers chasing game. You're always looking for that agent that produces 1 transaction a month and wants to go to 2 or 3 or 3 or 4. While money, exposure, connections, or other factors can help us do more of what we love, we'll truly feel successful when our primary objective is to give. And the more I do this, the more I realize that when you show up to a talk to give, people can feel it. When you show up to a talk to take, they can feel that too. In other words, if I begin the talk and I start talking about all the things I'm going to do for them and how I'm going to set them up in an appointment, again, think about the lady with the webinar company. How's that going to really, really hit their true why? So you have to give, and then maybe you can talk about getting down the road. Number 2 is to show up to give, and this is so important. We're just talking about this, and it's so important for you to understand that you're going to give the very best of you, the very best message, and if you receive, when you receive, that is a result of your purpose. Everything you do is to be of service, to understand, to communicate with people, and figure out what it is they need to get better. And if you can provide that for them, and maybe it's not even to get better, maybe it's to organize their time, or maybe it's to just understand a simple concept that when I refer somebody to a loan officer, they are in control of my commission, my customer service, and my future referrals. Think about that. When I refer somebody as a realtor to a loan officer, they're in control of my commission, my income, my customer satisfaction, and absolutely my future referrals. They might not be aware of that. Had a loan officer recently the other day say, it's a 3-day weekend, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my 15 top realtors and just leave them a message. If they don't answer the phone, that's fine. I'm going to leave them the message. Hey, just want to let you know that I'm in town this weekend. I know a lot of people are leaving town this weekend, but I'll be in town. I'll be on call. I'll be at the ready. In fact, if you call me, I'll likely answer your call. And I'm going to do this for you so I can be of service to you. She ended that whole conversation with you. That is something that can hit home to somebody. That is something that stays in that reticular activator, that part of your brain that when you see a Volkswagen, you see more Volkswagens. Again, because it applies directly to them and their needs. Show practical application and benefit. Very important that you explain a principle and then say, here's how it works in real life, and this is why it's going to make you money. If you do so, you'll come across in a much better way than if you show up in a way that can be perceived as needy. I really need business, I need referrals, please give me a transaction. That's not what we want to do. When you're having fun, you'll inspire people. And certainly, one of the funnest things I can do is speak to people with the great news, the tips and tricks and the tools to be successful. Be grateful for the opportunity to share your ideas and revel in the moment. Revel in that moment of your opportunity to stand in front of people, share your ideas, and most importantly, get information from them so you can deliver exactly what they need. Often we allow our nervousness to get in the way of enjoyment of presenting exciting material. The other day I gave a talk in one of our offices, and I was so concerned about them getting the message that I was delivering. And I've done this so many times that I knew that was just a natural feeling. So I went back over my message, double-checked, tweaked it, and made sure that as I was looking at that message from their standpoint, that I was really going to get through to their needs. Greatest fulfillment can be found in giving of ourselves so that others may benefit. If you're the kind of person that really likes helping people and gets satisfaction about getting people what they need in order to make their life better, then speaking inspired information to inspire people is really right up your alley. Number 3 is start with the end in mind, and this is so important. What do you want to achieve in your talk? What's the result? What's the one message you want to deliver? And that relates directly to your why. My why is I wake up inspired every day to inspire others so that we can change this business from one that's known as takers to one that's known as givers. And how do you want people to feel when they leave? Do you want them to feel inspired? Do you want them to feel excited? Do you want to give them 1 or 2 ideas they can take and maybe make a paradigm shift in their life? What do you want them to be inspired to do? Do you want them to be inspired to go forward without your help? Do you want them to be inspired to call you and say, hey, listen, you had some really good ideas, and they were exactly what I needed to hear. They really fit what my needs are. I'd like to know more about what you do and how you can help. What's the one idea you want to make sure sinks in? Sometimes all you have to do is get one idea across. Sometimes in our planning class, the one idea I might want to get across is, in high school, we listened to classroom bells. When the bell rang, we left the class, went to the next class, and when that bell rang, we went to the next class. So how come we don't do that in our daily business? When 10 o'clock comes on a Monday and it's time to blog, how come we put it off? That might be the one idea in that class I want to put forth. Starting with the end in mind allows you to tailor every story and tell every thought you share toward that destination. And I've been doing this so long that I've got all these stories in my memory bank that I'll be in a certain place in a class and I'll know it's just the right time to tell the story about the lady in Tucson that I told to have start 3 random conversations in 7 days, and she started 15 conversations with people she'd never met before and got 3 listing appointments. So starting with the end in mind, there's more. Some speakers will walk on stage with nothing but the destination in mind. I've done that. They'll share stories and experiences that relate to and strengthen the idea that they're sharing. Sometimes I'll talk for 30 minutes or more without even going to slide 2. Here's something that'll help you. Research. Find and bring related material that stresses your point. It not only stresses your point, it makes you more believable and helps you know and feel more confident about your message. This is much better than rote repetition and helps you underline your meaning. It also helps to show the practical application of what you're trying to show. From the time you're in front of the room, the space belongs to you. When you're in front of a group that's willing to listen and you've shown up to give, owning the room is fulfilling because you've set the stage for your idea to inspire others. You're going to show up for people that are willing to listen, and you're showing up to give. And if you have those 2 factors, you can't not win. Start with those who believe what you believe so they can stand by your side and beat the drum along with you. You can tell who those people are fairly quickly in the midst of your talk. And so communicate with those people. Focus on them, center on them, interact with them, and you'll be better off. You can't enjoy your talk unless you're fully prepared and ready, excited about your message, and have the end result in mind. So those three things are super, super important factors. Be fully prepared and ready. Practice, 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 and then practice some more. Think about how many times Tom Hanks goes over his lines in a movie and how many hours he spends trying to say the line and act it out in just the right way. How he looks at himself, maybe even films himself, and modifies his approach as he goes. The many, many hours and the detailed preparation that he goes through. You got to be excited about your message. Really excited that you really have the goods to help them. Remember, they might not perceive that. It might not be something they perceive. It probably is something they don't perceive. They probably don't think you have anything to offer. Many times I've had a talk, a CE class, and somebody stands up and says, "Hey, wait a minute, who are you and why should we listen to you?" And that's always something that you welcome, because you have to be prepared to answer that. And the way I answer it is, well, I'm a guy who gets in front of 500 realtors a month, plus or minus, and they all tell me what's working in their lives and how they're successful, and they also tell me what wastes their time and the roads that they don't want to go down. And I share that information with you, and that's what I'm here to do today. And that's having the end in mind. If you don't prepare, you'll have to repair. That's Mark Twain. If you want me to give you a 2-hour presentation, I'm ready today. If you want me only a 5-minute speech, it'll take me 2 weeks to prepare. That's pretty interesting too. Applause. The applause you receive after a presentation is a gift. So neither expect it or be surprised by it. It's important. It may not come in a class that you've done perfectly, that your message has been received in an intense way, in such an intense way, that people are so focused on the message they don't even think to clap afterwards, even though it might be the best class they've ever taken. Accept it gratefully. Don't just walk away not appreciatively. Take it in and be gracious. Applause serves a couple of important functions. Number one, it's a way to measure the impact of your message. And sometimes, like I say, it doesn't necessarily do that. But for the most part, if people are clapping en masse when you end your discussion, you've probably done a pretty good job. It is the audience's way of expressing appreciation for the value that you just brought them. While your natural inclination may be to walk off stage, grab your water bottle, or otherwise shy away from the applause, stay where you are, look individuals in the eye and say, "Thank you," and "Thank you," and "Thank you," and over again. Most of us are taught to reject compliments as a sign of humility. A compliment is a gift. Accept it by responding with sincere thank you. Be gracious when they applaud. A standing ovation is not necessarily the greatest type of applause. An inspired audience may take longer, like I say, to respond as they're processing the power of your message. And when you've done that, wow, you've really, really become an inspired speaker. So how do I practice? Then if practice is so important, what are the tips to practicing? Well, the first thing that I can tell you is that if you record yourself and play it back, you're no doubt going to be shocked at how it looks. I still am shocked at how I look. I don't feel like I look that way. I seem to appear slower than I actually feel when I watch myself. Practice by saying something at your normal pace, then practice slower and even slower. Play it back so you can hear for yourself what the three sound like, and even ask a friend which is most clear. Number two, observe a speaker or teacher you really respect. What do they do well? Ask if you can observe them at a future event, if possible, or look for more examples and videos on YouTube or TED. Bookmark the speeches and speakers you want most to emulate and watch them repeatedly. Make it a challenge for yourself to bring more awareness to your speech in everyday actions. The more you get in front of people and the more you monitor your high energy coming out of you, two things will happen. You'll start monitoring it in everything you do in your normal everyday conversation. And number two, it'll become more natural to you as you go forward in your speaking career. Sometimes even when I'm talking with friends, I'll practice not saying or other speech quirks that come across as unprofessional. And even though these are low-stakes situations, it helps me change my default speech into something that works in any setting. probably the most important thing is ask for feedback often. You want the good feedback, you also want the bad feedback. Make sure you have people who are willing to be honest with you, and when they say things, remember that it's their opinion. The other day I got feedback that that I didn't promote enough discussion in the class. And boy, if there's one thing that I do, it is have interaction and have discussion in the class. So I just took that with a grain of salt and thought, well, maybe I need to convey a little bit. Well, maybe I need to label it. Like, let's discuss this a couple of times during the class. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe. Ask them one thing you did well and one area you can improve. You might also have people track when you speed up in certain segments and when you slow down, so you get more granular data about where to focus. Number 5, this is going to be a tough one for some people. Join Toastmasters. It'll be a pain to wake up an hour earlier or 2 hours earlier than you normally do. But Toastmasters is a great way to get practice and feedback in a safe environment and learn from watching others. It's what got me to the next level when I started speaking. Something that helps me more than anything is practicing the outline of what I want to say. The more I know my content, the less nervous I will feel. Toastmasters is an excellent way to hone your presentation's content and structure. So let's give you some homework for our next module. Number 1 is come up with a speaker you most want to emulate. Identify who that is and watch that person. Decide on which class you will learn and practice first. And if you haven't already, develop your why. Try to get it into one sentence. Many people have come back to me and said, I found my why. And after 5 minutes, I stop them and say, your why has to be shorter than that. Just 1 or 2 sentences on what your why is. This is the end of Module 5. In Module 6, we're going to talk about a review of where we've been, the importance of fun facts, taking you through the slides of Win the Listing, which is one of our hottest classes we've ever written. Remember, one person in an audience could change your life. So stay with us, and we'll see you in Module 6.